guys, it's Dani. Today it's time to make an update, and I feel a final update, at least for some of these setups, on the Lechuza and Lechuza pond system and medium and the orchids that I potted in it. If you didn't know about this experiment, check the videos down below. I have two of them already, the initial one and a little update, so you see what's going on. We're on the same page. You might want to watch those first, because today it is an update to those, and we're gonna follow the evolution of these orchids based on what we did then. So first of all, as you can see, somebody's not looking all that great. Yep, this one doesn't look all that great either, but we're gonna talk about it. First and foremost, let us start with the one that I potted in Sphagnum moss. I did mention it last time. You probably didn't have the patience to watch till the end, so I'm gonna talk about it first today. The one in Sphagnum moss is actually working great. The Sphagnum moss remained moist ever since then. How long has it been? 2 weeks? So yeah, it's a lot of moisture, and it just ran out of water right now, you can see, and the moss is still a little damp. It's pretty damp, so I can still let it go maybe a few more days in my environment, which is really warm at the moment. It lasted 2 weeks, so with a full reservoir you can go with this setup for a lot of time. As you can see, I don't have mold or anything on the top of my medium, and this is because I do have a very ventilated grow space. I have an AC, I have fans, my windows are always open in the nighttime, so I introduce fresh air. Anyway, I don't have a buildup of pathogens. All of these actually matter a lot, because in an environment which might not be so ventilated and so refreshed from the air point of view, this might be a mold factory, because it's damp and it has been wet ever since for 2 weeks now. So you can understand how this is really tricky, and in some particular climates will be a total mess. But it worked for me, and the orchid, as you could see her, she's actually pretty happy. Look at those roots. Yes, I will have a bit of algae due to this wetness, and yes, the sphagnum moss will go bad within a year. That's, implied. It is an experiment. I just wanted to see if it's viable, and as far as I'm concerned, it is very viable. So if you like the setup, you're working with sphagnum moss, and you have an orchid which you constantly need to keep wet, maybe a masdevallia or a Dracula which produces flower spikes from the top, not from the bottom, then I think this can work pretty well, as long as you maintain the air fresh and circulating and ventilated. If you've ever grown masdevallias and Draculas, you know by now how to deal with them. This may or may not be an alternative, because I don't think this belongs in a greenhouse, to be fully honest with you. But yeah, it was a nice experiment. I'm gonna keep this orchid as it is because it enjoys it. This is my Hoiara lava burst, and as I was telling you last time, I could not make it just a semi-hydro for an entire year. This orchid does good in sphagnum moss, end of story. So I'm gonna keep her in sphagnum moss, and in this setup, we're gonna test how long the sphagnum moss can remain usable under these very damp conditions. So it does not need any watering right now. I'm thinking to actually not fill the reservoir all that much. It's a little too much water, I think. I don't know. I'll see what I'll do. So she's doing okay, but these guys, okay. Well, let's do this. I think you can already see my issues here. Last time we were talking about the Paphiopedilum. I'm having all sorts of... This is damage. Oh my. This is worse than dieback. So I'm having the leaf tip burn. This is a burn actually. And also with the Phalaenopsis, I had some root burn at the base here. Now the pond is finally dry. So it was wet ever since then as well, and it did stay wet at the top. That's a bonus. It acts indeed like Ceramis, and I don't see any algae formation so far. So that's good. If you will, it kind of just takes the place of Ceramis. It doesn't have that much clay residue and dust. It does stay wet. However, the whole fertilizer situation, no, this is way too fertilized for orchids. So I gave this medium a lot of chances, I think, in my opinion. I tried to make it work with orchids. I don't think the airiness is not suited. It is pretty airy, actually, for fine-rooted orchids, or for orchids who do like moisture, or terrestrials. But I believe that the fertilizer added to this medium is absolutely not suited for orchids. At least this is what my experience tells me. And as you could see in my previous video, a lot of my viewers had issues as well. Therefore, my conclusion is this medium might be appropriate for plants. It simply is not appropriate for orchids. Before we move on and actually change the medium for these orchids, two things I wanted to address. Number one, a few of you have told me that I did misuse the product. I should have put in it at the bottom and then fill in with my soil or medium. And that is actually the instruction for the other pots, the bigger pots, and for the other house plants which actually do require soil. In that case, yes, you do put this medium, you could actually put the medium at the bottom for it to wick and then deliver that moisture to the soil. But again, that's the instruction for the other plants. On their description, on their website, Lechuza says pond can actually take the place of regular soil. Whenever soil cannot be used, such as with orchids, which are epiphytic or otherwise semi-terrestrials, you can absolutely use a pond as it is. And thus, that's what I did. And second, somebody said that what they're saying on their website is just marketing and I shouldn't have done it. Well, I am a marketing person. As it happens, my degree is in marketing, and it is a subject that absolutely fascinates me since I studied it. However, though, this is not marketing. There is a difference. I think you are trying to say advertising. Marketing implies everything you're gonna do to put a product on the market. But that is also not advertising. So for US consumers, number one, you can hold companies accountable for their claims and their user manuals. Whether you will get a refund or go in front of a court, whatever, you need to absolutely follow instructions and use the product as specified by the company. If you do not, you cannot hold the company accountable. So as a consumer, you need to be very careful with these terms. If you do not use the product as recommended, you cannot get warranty, you cannot get refunds, you cannot, hold accountable anybody. Advertising would be pond, probably the best medium in the world. That's advertising. You cannot attack that. Probably. What does probably mean? Yeah, in our opinion, it is the best thing in the world. We created it. Of course, it's a personal thing. You cannot attack probably. You cannot attack might, could, things of the sort. It's all about how you express yourself as a company and in your promotional campaign. Examples of user manual and using the product correctly. This mascara should only be used on your eyelashes. That is user manual. You cannot use that mascara on your lips or up your nose. If you do that and you are trying to sue the company will say, well, did we tell you you could use it on your lips? No, you used it, you cannot hold us accountable. Therefore, with the pond medium is the very same thing. The user manual says that this product is intended to be used in the place of soil. It's intended to be used as it is, without rinsing, without anything. If I would go ahead and rinse and alter the product in ways they did not specify on their user manual, I could theoretically not hold them accountable if I so desired. Luckily, I do not desire to hold anybody accountable for anything. This is my own experience. Again, this is my conclusion, and I believe that this medium is not suited for my personal orchids, and the reason for that is over-fertilization. That is why I want to get rid of the fertilizer in this medium and give it another go, because this is a nice blend of lava rock, zeolites, and all sorts of nice stuff, I believe. Just want to get rid of the fertilizer. So there you have it. Wanted to make this little parenthesis for the average consumer out there. Keep in mind, read instructions, manuals, and everything accordingly, and follow their instructions. Otherwise, you will not get warranty if your product breaks. You cannot hold companies accountable for something they told you not to do, and so on and so forth. But now it is time to unpot these orchids. So first of all, let us work with the Paphiopedilum, which sadly suffered the most. And there we have him. Root-wise, I don't see much of a difference. I mean, the roots are still okay, but this orchid, oh, I have some roots trying to poke through here. That's good. But this orchid absolutely disliked the medium. You can see here by the dieback, this tissue is absolutely gone. So I will cut this leaf here, and then this I'll try to cut as well. I have a new leaf forming, so that's okay. But yeah, there we have it. This orchid did not enjoy this medium. And I do believe this is fertilizer burn. And speaking about this, there is an article on the American Orchid Society of what fertilizer burn is. It looks just like it, in my opinion. But check it down below so you learn exactly what fertilizer burn is. So as I was saying, I'm going to still hold on to this medium because I want to remove the little beads of slow release fertilizer. This is it. This is the slow release fertilizer here. And I'm thinking maybe this is the only fertilizer introduced. Maybe the little rocks were not coated with fertilizer. So maybe if I remove the slow release granules, I will solve my problems. And since we're here, I'm going to unpot this orchid as well. And don't worry, I will actually sterilize this medium after I defertilize it. And this orchid actually doesn't look all that bad. Root-wise, you can see the roots that were moist inside, they're okay. But my problem is right here. This is already, you know, the velamen is completely mushy here. Oh, it's very mush. It completely destroyed the velamen. And this is where things were dry. Salts that deposit, those are the ones that tend to burn. As long as the minerals are still dissolved in water, they don't burn. They can cause fertilizer burn on the leaves. Check that article down below. It explains very well what it is. But when it comes to root tip burns happen when they are dry, typically. And these roots, well, maybe this one doesn't look so hot, but this one still looks good. This might be previous damage, I'm not sure. So inside, the roots are not all that bad, but as you can see here, where the salts accumulated due to the wicking action, we don't have such a good looking orchid. So I'm gonna save this medium, try to defertilize it. I'm going to wash my pots, and I'm going to come back with the mediums that I want to use. Alright, so first of all, the Phalaenopsis orchid, I will be potting this one in LECA. So practically try to do a sort of semi-hydro with the wick. I had a couple of viewers claiming this actually worked for them, the LECA and the wicking system. Now in my environment, I'm pretty reserved when it comes to LECA being able to wick from the actual wick. As you might know, I do have issues with semi-hydroponics as well sometimes, and there I have a full reservoir of water and LECA sitting in the water. But that's something that happens in my environment. And as I was saying, I keep my greenhouse super ventilated, super breezy, super everything. And again, the tops tend to dry out a lot in my greenhouse. I have to do this due to the high humidity here, due to the temperatures. I need to keep everything moving. I need to keep the air fresh. It's just something I need to do. So this could actually work. I'm not saying it doesn't, but in different climates than mine. However, maybe I'm wrong. That's why I want to test it. And of course, because I don't have an easier alternative at the moment. So I have here LECA, which actually has been sitting in water for a few days just to help the setup a little bit. There we have it. And now let's fill the reservoir. This is osmosis water, by the way. I'm not using fertilizer because these orchids have received enough. Oh my goodness, that was abrupt. I think I put too much now. Okay, this is better. So as you can see, my little gauge is at the limit here. So I'm going to leave this orchid as it is, no fertilizer, no nothing, just with my osmosis water, and I'll keep you up to date. Now let's tackle the poor Paphiopedilum. For the Paphiopedilum, I will go with a semi-terrestrial mix, which consists of bark, coconut coir, and coconut husk. So let's fill it up. Again, let me remind you that Paphiopedilums do not produce aerial roots. If roots start to or try to grow in the air, they will completely stop before they get long enough to branch. So it's always better to pot paths a little deeper. So you can see I have some bumps here. These are roots which are trying to grow. I need to make sure these roots are inside the medium, not outside, because they will not develop outside. Alright, so because this was a messy process, I'm gonna go and rinse everything, run some water through the pot actually, and then fill up the reservoir. Okay, so here we have the path. Let's put some water, again osmosis water. I'm not gonna put fertilizer or anything right now. I'm just going to let these orchids adjust a little bit. Let's make sure that the gauge works. So again, I had this fluctuating more than it should have. I'm just going to let it be as it is right now. I do have water here. So I'll see if this medium remains moist in this wicking system. Hopefully it does. I mean, it does have some coconut coir there, some finer materials. Maybe those will provide enough capillary properties to keep everything rather moist. And there we have it. As a final conclusion, I would absolutely not use pon with all of my orchids. It's an interesting medium, and if you want to try it out, absolutely try it out, but maybe do so with 1 orchid, 2 orchids. Do not go and change your whole collection because you might have issues. Some orchids might be more sensitive than others. You know, there are orchids with more sensitive roots, and I'm not sure if pon is the best solution for them. As for me, I'm going to try to defertilize that pon and try to use it because, you know, it's like Ceramis, it really is, but a little better because it doesn't have that fine brick dust. And maybe it's not that prone to creating algae at the top. Other than that, I do suspect Ceramis can absolutely take the place of pon. It does the same thing. If you have Ceramis and you want to use it at the bottom of a self-watering pot, I think it will do the job great. Ceramis is great at wicking, so you don't necessarily need to buy yourself pon if that was one of the issues, if you already have Ceramis. So there we have it. The experiment continues. I will now cut all of this affected portions, put some cinnamon on the cut wound, and of course I'll keep you guys up to date. So there we have it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, you know the drill. Give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe to my channel for regular orchid videos, tutorials, experiments, Q&As, and other things of the sorts. And if you'd like YouTube to notify you whenever I upload a new video, turn on notifications for my channel. And with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!